because I always like to drive it home to the mission, right? And the mission of this space, as I'll read it, accelerating the achievement of gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls by addressing poverty and strengthening institutions. And one thing I was reflecting on when I was thinking about, oh my gosh, how, like, what are the 3 points I'm going to say, which I did create 3 points that I'll stick with in the structure that I've built. But just really reflecting on, like, what are the meaning of those words? Like, what is empowerment? What is an institution? Because we are looking at things on such a global scale, and that's important. And it's also important to recognize the way that an institution actually embodies itself or shows itself in all of our respects of life. Like, our community is an institution, our family is an institution, a marriage is an institution, right? And to be able to be empowered within those spaces is a direct one-to-one correlation of how we're able to show up as the leaders, which we already are. And so I want to also say, yes, it's important to be these leaders in the marketplace that we're talking about, but also it matters to be a mother. Like, it matters very much to be a mother, and to recognize the ways that some of the other women here have spoken on our relationships with men, and just in reflection that, like, the real men in the world who are not built to complain, many of them, they might look like they have everything together, but inside they're just begging for us to love them. And that's a huge responsibility, one that we can take accountability for within ourselves. And so I just wanted to, lead with that by acknowledging the power that we do have just in that alone. Whether we want to start a whole company or a business or anything like that, I think that the pendulum swing, honestly, sometimes does the women of the world a bit of a disservice, and almost insinuating that those things, that being a wife, being a mother, that they're not just as valuable as being a founder or CEO. Right. And so they are, because we are able to be the CEO of our home, and we're able to also traverse to do multiple things and play multiple roles. And I'm learning. I do not want to imply that I'm the expert in this. I'm far too young to even be close to that. I am learning, and I'm learning how to listen, and I'm learning what a strength that actually is. And you did mention to thank the women that we've brought in, and I see so many of the names of people within our community. So I want to take a second to thank them for being here before I really jump into, like, what I've prepared to say. Sydney, the support that you've given me, thank you. Dunya, my first Muslima friend, thank you. Anastasia, Edna, you all have shown such support, and those are just some of the names. I hope I didn't miss anyone from the Art Heals Earth School Global Leaders Chat. And then so many of the women here have been a support to me as well. I really do think that it's time that we all come together to really shout, especially to our men, that help is on the way, that help is here now, because that's what taking accountability can show. And, it was mentioned earlier that being poor is a state of mind. This is something that I've reflected on a lot. I don't want to go too into it, but in my own personal life, I've experienced a lot of oscillation in terms of wealth. And that's one of the reasons why I found it so important in talking about the mission to unlock 1 billion closed minds, which is the mission that we are here to serve within our organization, to really create an awareness that, just as Yvonne said, and I'm just saying, I'm going to trust the woman with the billions of capital when she says that whether you have lots of resources in a moment or not has really nothing to do with how wealthy you are. That means something. And so to be able to implement actual action behind that mission of unlocking 1 billion closed minds through holistic health and wealth education, and guiding Earth's children into that. And we're all Earth's children. That's something that I've become extremely passionate about. And through Art Heals Earth School, that's what we've been up to. those things all do interconnect, and I'll tell you a little bit of how that's happened for me. But the three main points that I want to make sure that get really focused on, and I've already touched on it a little bit, is number one, the paradigm shift from being helpless to being helpful. And number two, the paradigm shift from being a consumer to a contributor, learning that value contribution in a circular economy is what's going to move us forward versus this idea of time for money. And then number three, art, which is the aligned resonant truth. ART is the aligned resonant truth. So I heard it said that healing means helping. And learning to listen means also like listening to ourselves and learning to study ourselves. And that's why I point any human I come in contact with toward the real 10 steps to alignment, because it's the number one resource that I've learned to actually understand myself better. And that's a beautiful thing, because it means that helping might be different from person to person. And that's one of the things that we teach. Whenever I met the woman who, she's not here right now, but she's popped in and out, inspired a lot of what is being done within the Philippines, as Yvonne mentioned. We discussed this concept that is universal, but especially in these self-proclaimed indigent or poor communities, that there's a learned helplessness in the world. We see it with the refugees that we're working with as well. We see it a lot in women, like a lot. And whenever we step away from that learned helplessness and actually step into and step up into helpfulness, we're able to recognize how much power we truly have and create results, which then brings an indisputable confidence. You can't negate results. You can't negate outcomes. We can disprove the fluffy things, which a lot of the times we as women like to focus on, and I'm one of those women as well. But if we look at the things that are actually proven, like key performance indicators, that's whenever we can gain a level of confidence. We're able to no longer just be consumers, but be contributors, and actually be contributing by marketing our own organizations more properly, because we know that it's going to serve and create opportunities for people who are in indigent communities. And I put the quotes because, again, I don't think that the labeling often helps us whenever we are communicating, although a recognition of reality is very important and sound thinking is very important. I want to just make a couple more points before I finish here. I want to make sure I'm mindful of my own time as well, as I've been watching the clock on everybody else. But in terms of what we actually are beginning to do, and I say beginning because I'm in the very beginning of this journey with Art Heals Earth School, I am amazed of the things that have been evolving in the last 90 days around creating this nonprofit. The brand, sure, it's existed for a while, but the nonprofit is very new. The things that we envision are going to require collaboration among women like you. I've seen this, what the speakers have been building. I have seen the size of your email lists, and I've heard your intentions. And as we are just getting started with building and serving schools globally by collaborating with the Lifesavers Ambassadors Program and the Seeds of Hope Philippines, and creating sustainable farming and inshallah, God willing, building schools across the globe, I do want to say that we're creating a call to all artists, particularly children, to really imagine, and I implore you each to imagine, what does the world's coolest school look like? Like, what does it really look like? Like, let's envision it together. What does that look like? And to create a call to artists to actually draw that out, or to put it in song, or to create a TikTok about it, or to build whatever piece of art, aligned resonant truth, might reflect what that actually could be in reality in the physical world. And our solution that we have been exploring executing on as we're building out our organization is to call to artists all around the world, to have them submit and to have us compile that as data and to look at all of the similarities that we each collectively co-create and what we see that to be through the mind's eye, through the collective consciousness, and then to institute governance and allow every child to have 2 votes and every individual to have 1 vote, every adult individual, to select what are the best images and then compile them, synthesize them, and create committees of designs to then actually build those things into reality. The curriculum that we teach within those schools is something that is really crucial to be developed, and I'm grateful for the women here who have been active contributors and helping envision that and bring it into actuality. But that's the path that we're on. That's our solution for the pathway forward, just one of them, on the mission to unlock 1 billion closed minds. And the aligned resonant truth is art. One last thing I'll say is never underestimate the solution of play. When we sing, when we dance, when we play and express through ease as women, it does something for the world that is invaluable. I'm learning it every day myself. Thank you all so much for allowing me to host and co-host and hold space. I'm so grateful. That is my time. I am complete.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Karina. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And we can't wait to participate in that art and maybe get some finger painting in there.
I will say that we are putting it in a structure that's actually a fundraiser for your organizations as well. So we can talk more about that. I have resources for that, but the objective is to make sure that everyone's getting the art and that it's also producing income beyond whatever financing and capital we might acquire.